Natural Doctors. I'm Dr. Jennifer Stagg.
And I'm Dr. Katie Dinello. Thanks for joining us tonight. We decided to do this episode on things that we are loving currently in natural medicine. So just kind of some of our favorite things right now, which, you know, we'll always talk about ourselves and what we love. So it's a good topic for us. So I think we should start off with some supplements here.
Yes.
Is there a supplement, one or two supplements right now that you are really loving?
Yeah, I would say what I'm excited about now is the entry of psychobiotics into the nutraceutical. This has been something that's sort of been on the radar, and there have been some strains that have been studied, but there haven't been really a lot of them that have like actually published data. And so psychobiotics, that sounds like a crazy term a little bit, but essentially these are probiotics that have an effect on your psychology, right? Psychobiotics. So it's affecting your mood. And hopefully you watched our last episode when we were talking about anxiety and that gut-brain connection, right? So probiotics, there are a lot of strains that just, you know, generally help with mood, but some are even more powerful is what I would say, right? Like that gut health is important, but there are really specific strains. And so we just started with a supplement that I've, you know, or starting to work with patients that does have some really good data behind it. So I'm like, have some early results, but I'm getting, you know, I need to get more feedback on it to see like clinically how people are going to respond to these versus some of the other probiotics that we've used as part of a gut health protocol.
Exactly, right? And that's kind of the place we've always started is we know that the gut absolutely influences our mood, right? Our psychology, our mental health, as you're saying. And so we've always just worked on kind of our general gut healing protocols, right? Whether that looks like working on leaky gut, food sensitivities, testing for SIBO, MCAS, all of these things. But we haven't really, up until now, been able to give, you know, X, Y, and Z specific strains in specific amounts to affect anxiety or depression, because really those products haven't quite existed. So it's cool. It's a much more direct approach. So we know that a lot of these strains are increasing levels of GABA, short chain fatty acids, right? All of these really beneficial things in our gut that are going to affect our mood. So I'm also really excited about this. And so are you kind of doing these as a one-off of saying like, okay, you know, we're treating your anxiety with these? Are you doing them in conjunction with other gut healing protocols or other anxiety protocols?
Yeah, so like if it's a new patient, then I would be working on the gut as a whole and then using that probiotic. But I have so many patients that are existing patients that we're managing their anxiety, and we've, you know, a lot of them, we've done really great things with them. It could be a patient that also, like I'm thinking of a couple of them that hadn't been in for a while, and now they come back and they're like, oh, my anxiety has gotten out of control. I'm not doing all the things you told me to do. And really what I'm doing, and some of them I'm even switching over to see, you know, they're on a probiotic and then just switching them over. So it is just one. So in many of these cases so far, it is just like that's the only change. So I can really isolate like what kind of response is this patient having, like, and especially in patients who are on a probiotic that I'm switching them over. So I'm really curious to see how that's going to turn out.
I know, me too. I'm excited. I also have started a couple patients on some of these products. I love that there's some data on using these psychobiotics to also increase something called brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which is a really big deal when it even comes to neuroinflammation. So I'm excited for that. I will also say, you know, this brings up a bigger topic for me of, you know, probiotics are so prevalent right now. It feels like every new patient comes in on a probiotic, and it can be a challenge to decide which probiotic to choose for a patient. And so having this extra level of data where we're really starting to see, okay, these specific strains are associated with these specific symptoms, is exciting, right? So we're being able to make such more personalized recommendations on these for patients.
Yeah.
So it's an
Yeah.
exciting time
It is,
in the world of probiotics.
Yeah, I've been waiting for this one for years,
Yeah.
and I've given presentations on microbiome, and there's been discussion of these strains, but nothing has actually come to market.
Yeah.
And I'll often get questions because these are healthcare providers that I'm speaking to, and they're like, "Oh, when are we getting this?" And it's like, I don't know, but here we go. So I'm really excited about that. I think maybe in 2026 we're going to see like trending, right?
I think so too.
Yeah,
I think
be
so
on
too.
one of those top lists. Yeah.
Yeah, I think maybe we need to go into industry and start making some of these products ourselves. All of our spare time.
Yeah.
All right.
What about other products? Like, is there something that you're really excited about?
Yeah, I really like working with functional mushrooms.
Yes.
I know that these are kind of saturating the market right now, but I remember even 5-6 years ago when I was in medical school learning about functional mushrooms. I mean, only people who were really into naturopathic medicine were using these, and they felt like such a hidden secret, such a hidden gem, because mushrooms are so powerful. They're incredible. I mean, you and I geek out over the physiology of mushrooms, right? Like, we love them, if even on, the basis of the mycelium network and what they look like underground and how they communicate with each other. Like, mushrooms are intelligent beings.
Yes. Like they're so unique. Like, they're not plants. I think people don't even realize, and they think they're just a vegetable, but they're their own organism, right? A very unique kingdom of organisms. So
exactly.
I agree. I think there's even even though you hear a lot about mushrooms, I think we're going to get a lot more sort of specific, probably get a lot more data coming out about the power of mushrooms. There is some compelling stuff already. Lion's mane, is really great for brain health. And of course, the immune properties of mushrooms, which we need so badly, right? There are so many damaged immune systems now as a result of the
COVID.
pandemic.
So and that's how I would say I'm using them, right? Is for the immune support. There's some data when it comes to cancer as well. So very cool stuff there.
Yes.
And then a lot for brain fog, ADHD. We could do a whole separate episode on this, but I see so many adult patients who come to me and they're like, I just was diagnosed with ADHD, right? Where I'm realizing that I feel like I have ADHD, and I use a lot of functional mushrooms in those patients. And then on a much more fun side, we've got the mushroom coffees, right? These are really fun. I drink them. I love them. I think they're great, with or without the added caffeine. So, they're all over the place now, which is really great. I love it.
It is. I do too. I think that that's a really exciting area, and I think we're probably going to see a lot more coming out in that.
I think so too. Any other supplements? Is that it?
Yeah, I think those are probably the big ones right now. I think everything else we could talk about is kind of still a little overdone. Creatine, collagen, those are still, and I think they're important. It's not that I take all of these,
yes, of course,
but I think they've been talked about enough that now I think the spotlight should, I think we're going to see the spotlight turning a little bit on some of these other supplements we talk about.
I will put a plug in. I am a greens girly through and through. I love my greens powder. I know it's overdone. The market is saturated, blah, blah, blah. But I feel so good on a good solid greens powder. I'll be honest, I use the standard processed one. It's the one I love. It tastes really good. So,
I guess on that line, I would say, I said I had enough to say about supplements, but I would say that something that I've noticed is that, and I think we're going to see more of this. There's a long history of traditional herbalism, right? But the turn towards plants instead of, a lot of the other sort of synthetic supplements.
Nutrients, nutraceuticals.
A lot of that is, I think we're starting to see a trend change a little bit more, where we're working with whole plants and how powerful they are, right? That in our practices, we've seen this sort of shift in how bodies are responding. Like herbs have always been, wonderful medicine, but it seems like a lot of people are just not really responding to synthetic medications the way they used to. And we talked about this in our Herbalism series.
Yeah.
And the herbs are going to really, I think, take a big place in medicine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah,
I am definitely feeling called to our herbal medicine roots in naturopathic medicine, using herbs, using tinctures, liquid herbs. Yeah, I love it. So, couldn't agree more. All right, food. What's going on in the food world for you? What are you into these days?
Food can get pretty wild in my house.
Well, you just made a crazy Thanksgiving dinner, right?
Well, yeah. So we like to cook and we like to use really good ingredients.
Yeah.
And especially when it comes to produce. So I think where I'm going, and my son, who's 21, is really into this as well, and he's been kind of a little bit of a stimulus for me, is the regenerative farming.
Yeah.
Right? And
so cool.
like also just like growing your own food at home. And so next year, we grown things over the years. I've tended kind of scaled back, and we grow more sort of like herbs and some tomatoes and peppers, some of the basic
simple things.
Yeah, but part of it is our property has a lot of oak trees, so then we don't have like a lot of spots with really full sun. But I'm figuring it out this year. So like in the winter, we're gonna figure out where we're gonna put these beds, what we're gonna grow, and really what we can do that's more regenerative, right? And that, like growing your own food, the level of nutrition in food that's grown like in your home, locally. Good soil, the soil microbes are a really important part of the food. So when you're buying food in a grocery store, which I do, like it's not just about vitamins and minerals, it's phytochemicals, it's the microbiome, the soil microbes that are a really important aspect of our human health. So when you can, like obviously, it takes some work to grow some things at home, but once you start dabbling, you can, really get, so I recommend starting with herbs, honestly, like, cause that's the easiest way to go.
Agreed.
But take up your local food co-ops,
farmers markets,
visit farmers markets, buy from local farms, do a CSA. It's really, really important. I think that's probably the biggest thing I would say on the food window that will keep us away from like processed factory farmed food.
I
it's
agree.
not even food.
No, exactly. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. My husband a couple days ago was like, so for Christmas, I was thinking about getting you those garden beds that you wanted, because that is also really important to us. And so, I love that. I mean, I think back even when I was in college, I was part of a garden club and, would spend my weekends gardening, right? And this was just at UConn, we're in Connecticut, so this was just at UConn. It just feels so good to be connected and to put the effort into growing that food and to knowing exactly where it's coming from, knowing that there were no pesticides sprayed on it, right? I love that. I love it so much.
And it tastes so much better.
Oh my gosh.
Right? Like if you're
really
a foodie,
does.
when you get good quality produce, it makes such a difference.
Yep, I couldn't agree more. And for me, kind of along the same lines, what I've been really into is sprouts and microgreens. I need to start growing these on my own.
So that would be like, I think for people, that would be an easy thing.
It would be. There are so many kits and little things that you can buy that are super easy, whether it's the growing mats or kind of like the term
the towers.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
But they're really, really easy to grow. And the reason why I love them is because, number one, they have very little taste. Like you don't even notice they're in your salad, but they are so nutrient dense. It's amazing. And so they pack a big punch for just a little bit. So I am buying these every single week. I'm eating them every day in my salads. And they're great. I really love them.
Absolutely. So. And that's something like people can grow inside. There's actually in a farmer's market that I frequent, there's a booth where this guy has microgreens, and he just grows them in like organic soil, but he is like growing them like year round, and you can even do like, he does drop-offs.
Oh my, I need his number.
And he just like he just has this like beautiful slicing with his knife. It's just it's like, it's such a good thing. And it's so, you know, when you get those the microgreens, even like obviously you can get them in containers, but when you get them fresh, it's just like a whole other world of nutrition.
True. Right? It's so true.
Anything
else for food? Should we move on?
Yeah, we should probably move on, because I know we got to get through some topics.
So our next thing here is daily ritual. Is there something that you're doing most days that really has a meaningful impact in your life?
Yeah, I think for me, like I always used to make a list, and they were, you know, I'm like exercise, yoga, meditation, and I'm trying to do all of those. But for me, I've really sort of turned, and if I have to like cut down on something, I like meditation is not it. It's like a non-negotiable for me.
Love that.
So I really, you know, prioritize that, and it's just such a powerful tool. And when I think about, you know, when I recommend this to patients, when you first like broach the subject, it's kind of like people are like, oh yeah, I don't need to do that. And
another thing
it takes them a lot, like a lot of people, you know, a lot of work to get it incorporated. But it's because our minds are just so busy, right? It's cultural, it's, you know, tech, all that sort of stuff. But this is a place where you can actually use tech to your benefit. So I use this app called the Expand app, and it's through the Monroe Institute. So if people are familiar with the Monroe Institute, they have done a lot on consciousness, a lot of research around that. And they also study the like sound technology. So built into this app, because there are a lot of apps out there, I've used plenty over the years, Calm app, all those sorts of things. But the Monroe Institute, on their meditation track, so this is what I tend to use if I'm not using a drumming track, which is a whole other like thing we could get into.
We'll do an episode on that,
Shamanism and drumming. But on this app, you're selecting, you know, guided and some unguided meditations, and there are a lot of different categories, but it does have built into it the binaural beats. And you know, and music. So it's really a beautiful sort of like blended background. And what it does is it calms down like your brain activity. So you get into those deeper meditation states, and it really shuts off that mind chatter really quickly. That if you just sat down and thought like, okay, I'm going to meditate and close my eyes and quiet my mind, it's really hard to do that.
It's hard, exactly. Especially when it feels like our attention is so limited and pulled in so many directions, where you're like, okay, I don't have time to be doing all these things. You're like, if I want to meditate, I want to get into that beta state like as quickly as possible. And I actually do truly agree that the tracks with the Monroe Institute do that so much more effectively. Like similar to you, I've used a lot of different apps, and I continuously go back to the Monroe Institute ones because they are that superior. And they really do get you into that meditative state.
You get so deep, and I can do some of these tracks and I'm just like, whoa, like where was I? Like I was not in this body, right?
Exactly.
You get so deep with this.
And the reason why, I mean, you know, I think everybody at this point knows the benefits of meditation, but I think it's worth repeating that it improves our heart rate variability. It can significantly lower blood pressure, right? Like we have all of these outcomes where we know meditation actually improves that, but not just from a physical health standpoint, right? It is the emotional and the spiritual part. And that is something that we often overlook, even us as naturopathic doctors, and we're trained to talk about this with patients. It's just easier to talk about the other things because for a lot of people, consciousness feels like a really big topic, right?
But you're right, exactly. And I think like as a profession, we've done a lot better with this than other professions. But I think naturopaths have like really focused a lot on mind body, and a lot of us are missing the spiritual aspect of it. and consciousness. And I think that, like, because I would talk about consciousness and I don't even think that's mind, right? Like, this is a separate category. And I think that's the big frontier. So when you start, like, looking into research, there's so much science on this. And I think this is, like, the big emerging, like, movement that we're going to see. And if we're not talking about it, we're really missing, like,
the point.
Everything we are as humans.
I couldn't agree more. And it's something that I am bringing up a lot with my patients. And I would say in the last year or so, patients are so much more receptive to this. It's almost like they're like, whoa, thanks for bringing that up. Because that is something I'm thinking about, right? Because we're spiritual beings, right? Living this human experience, and we can't deny that. And denying that is denying a huge piece of our overall health. And so I'm having a lot of fun bringing this up with patients. And, you know, some patients are not ready for it, and that's fine, right? Of course. But a lot of patients are, and it is opening up this whole new world.
I agree. I think it's fascinating. And sometimes I'm not even the one bringing it up, and patients are like, you know, I had this experience, and they're like, you're going to think this is, like, really crazy. And I'm like, no, you tell me. And they're like, oh my God, I can talk to you about this. Right? Which is, like, I think that's so beautiful.
It is. And you and I, we both just took a medical intuitive class. And so we are really trying to hone in on these, you know, these gifts and these skills that we all have, which is this intuition. And, you know, I tell patients, I was talking to a patient earlier today, and, you know, she was saying, like, I just have this intuition that this symptom is related to this. And I said, let's follow that, right? Because your intuition matters. I'm not living in your body, right? I can make medical judgments, but I want to listen to your intuition. And that's a skill you and I are both trying to hone in on, is how can we use medical intuition to really help people on a deeper level?
Absolutely. I love that. And I think, the receptivity is there, unlike it ever has been before. And it, you know, it's something that we all have, as you mentioned. But we do need to sort of, like, relearn it. It's like, we do. You know, we've forgotten. That's cool.
So, you know, the last topic that we'll kind of talk about here is all about mindset. So what are some of the things you're really liking right now in terms of mindset?
So it sort of plays on what we just talked about. It's almost like getting out of your mind and getting like more in tune with your body and your energy, body, and consciousness. So that's a big aspect of it. I would say that the other big thing that I think about is sort of like mind, brain, like brain heart coherence, I guess. That's something I'm bringing up a lot with patients. And this is essentially a gratitude, like getting into the emotional state of gratitude. So it's more than just like making lists. We talked about this in our last episode. In terms of a mindset, it's trying to evoke like that emotion, right? Is what's so critical about it, because we can sit and make lists, but it's not, it doesn't necessarily do anything. It can distract the mind. But we really want to embody that emotional state of gratitude, because it is such a deep place to be. But also using breath work along with that, and visualization of, you know, doing that breath work and breathing through kind of the heart center and connecting in that emotional state. So it's really cool practice.
I love it. I'm with you. Doing the same thing. Those are really similar to what I'm into. And I think coming off of that and similar to that is this idea that we are good enough, right? You know, and when we feel that gratitude for where we are in our, you know, current phase of life, is, you know, realizing I don't need to do one more thing or find the next best thing or even the next best supplement, right? It really is recognizing that you are good enough just as you are, where you are, and what you're doing for your health is good enough, right? You know, we see so many patients who are trying to do all the things, and at some point we just have to take a step back, relax, remember that being human is complicated. It's never going to feel perfect. It's always going to feel a little messy. And that's where that consciousness comes into play of we really are spiritual beings in this human experience.
Yeah.
And we have to play into that, feel the emotions and be in the mess and all that stuff, right?
Good times. Yeah.
Yeah, messy
But yeah, I
good.
agree. Like giving yourself that little bit of grace, right? That you often would grant anyone else in your life, but you don't grant yourself.
Yep.
So I think that's so powerful is for people to not like, this whole like concept of trying to do it all and keeping up with what you see societally. And you have to do this like everything the right way and you have to do all the things. Like there's a point, like this is happier people are like, oh yeah, that's good enough.
Exactly.
It's enough.
Fine.
Yeah.
I love it. All right. Well, we are out of time. Thank you so much for joining us here at The Natural Doctors. And remember to follow us on all the platforms. We're on Instagram and TikTok and subscribe on YouTube so you don't miss any other shows. Thanks for joining.